of order.
Point of order, Sue Moroney.
Mr Speaker, the member who just
order, can I just have the point of
her
order?
Seat has referred to evidence that she had of good quality early childhood education. I ask that she table that evidence.
Order. Well, I will check with the member whether she had such evidence during the general debate. I'd be surprised. Did the member quote from official documents? No.
No, Mr Speaker, but
Thank you. That's all I need. That's all I need. Order. Order. James Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The last couple of days has been a very sad time in this Parliament, and I'd like to start by, given that the last speaker spoke about the quality of leadership provided by our Prime Minister and some of the statements that he has chosen to stand by, to not resign from and to not apologise for. I'm just going to read a few other quotes of his that I think he may want to stand by in the future as well. Quote, "He made a very significant contribution to our caucus. He's a loss in terms of the contribution I've seen him make as a politician. I'm very happy for him to continue in the position that he does. He is a fully functioning member of the caucus," end quotes. And those are in relation to the former member for Northland. And so when we stand accused of backing rapists and murderers, we take great offence, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, Alfred Nardo.
Comments. That current issue is actually before the courts, and so I'd like to take a point of order there, sub judice.
Order. I think on this occasion those remarks are okay within the general debate. I will listen more carefully. If there is any reference to a matter that is before the court, that would of course be out of order. At this stage the speech is in order and it can continue. Mr Shaw.
So when we stand accused of backing rapists and murderers and pedophiles, I say that those who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Mr Speaker, the quality of leadership, so-called, that has been provided by our Prime Minister...
Order. Point of order, Mark Mitchell.
I just want to draw your attention to the fact that that the member's speech, he spoke about the member of Northland, and then immediately he started talking about rapists and drawing the Prime Minister's into the debate. And I don't know whether that's appropriate. I don't think it is, because he's trying to link the two together.
Order. I think it's... No, I don't need assistance from the member. It is a dangerous territory that we're in. At this stage, I have ruled that the speech can continue. If it moves to an area that is before the court, then I would cease the speech immediately, because I'm very conscious of the responsibility that Parliament has, the responsibility that the judiciary has. In future, if any members wish to get close to this line, Speaker's rulings are quite clear, or standing orders are quite clear. You need to, in writing, take this matter up with the Speaker so he can be better prepared. But I've ruled that the speech at this stage, and certainly where it's now moved to, can continue. I don't want further objections unless we go into an area of territory that is dangerous, and frankly I'll be listening very carefully, so I'll be the first on my feet, I suspect. James Shaw. Well, I've ruled on a matter. It's a fresh point of order?
Fresh point of order, and I'll try and be very careful in doing so, Mr Speaker, and that is where members suspect that the particular standing orders that you're referring to, and I think we all know what they are being transgressed. I think we get ourselves into some difficult territory that it may be useful for you to provide some further guidance to the House on, because in raising a point of order, but members may interpret a comment a member is making as traversing that material, which either wasn't intended or so on. But in raising a point of order, they may themselves actually introduce material that links comments that either weren't intended or weren't intended in that way, that actually potentially gets the House. So I wonder whether you could give us some more clarity on how members can raise that without themselves getting into the difficulty with the courts.
Well, I don't think there's any guidance I can give on that, but I accept the point the member's making. the issue now has been highlighted by the points of orders raised. That's effectively what the member's saying. As I said, I haven't ruled anything out at this stage, but I am listening carefully. I invite Mr Shaw to continue his contribution.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. When we stand accused of backing rapists and pedophiles and murderers, we take great offence, particularly those members who have been the victims of rapists and pedophiles and murderers, and who have fought for years and years and years for the rights of those victims. I find it absolutely extraordinary that the Prime Minister has chosen to distract from his own troubles by choosing to go on the offensive and to say that because for some inexplicable reason, the records of members on this side of the House in fighting those fights are somehow the exact opposite of what he is accusing of. That is an extraordinary thing, Mr Speaker. I mean, the lines that he is using, I get that they've been dreamt up in the Australian offices of, a political consulting firm, Crosby Textor, because they've been trotted out here and in Australia, and he wants to look tough on crime. And I know it's a dog whistle to the kind of red meat brigade who consistently vote for National, but it is absolutely unacceptable in this House to accuse members of the opposition of backing rapists and murderers. It is completely unparliamentary. It lacks leadership. It brings this House into disrepute. And Mr Speaker, it is quite clear that until an apology is made for those comments and until that they are withdrawn, that this House will continue to see a high level of disorder. And Mr Speaker, I would like you to reflect on your own rulings. I recognise that you have made a number of rulings in relation to this matter over the last several hours and looked at the events of yesterday. But you have to accept that because of the nature of those rulings that we are going to see continued disorder because essentially what has happened is that the members of the opposition now have no confidence in the procedures of this House and no confidence in the chair.
Order, order, order. The member will stand. Withdraw that comment.
I withdraw and apologise, Mr Speaker. Unlike the Prime Minister, who doesn't have the grace to do so.
Order. Just carry on with the speech.
So Mr Speaker, what we've seen here is that the opposition has been attempting to hold the government to account on its human rights record, on attempting to hold our Australian friends to account for their transgressions of human rights. And what has happened is that in order to distract from that issue and in order to look tough on crime and boost the poll ratings amongst the sort of, stamp them on the neck until they stop what they're doing crowd, the lock them up and throw them away the key crowd, I think it's the Prime Minister who should be locked up. The extraordinary thing here is that they've just gone on the offensive and decided that in order to distract from all of that, they're going to lay it on this side of the House, that for some reason members who have been abused, members who have stood up for the victims of abuse for their entire career, are somehow backing rapists and murderers and pedophiles. It is utterly absurd. It's completely offensive. It lacks leadership. It's unparliamentary, and it brings into disrepute this House and our proceedings.
Dr.